It's staying darker later. The air is warmer, at least for right now. Next week certainly doesn't sound like it. And certainly by mid to late April, we'll probably be getting inches of snow. But for now, spring ball has officially started for Michigan. And what a better time? Is there a better time? I don't know how to phrase that. Nonetheless, we're going to get to your questions about Michigan as spring ball starts on this Michigan Mailbag right here on Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it for round 2 since we didn't get to this last Thursday. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your man on the ground, Isaiah Holt, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. If you missed the weekend, we did weekend shows instead. And that's pretty much all basketball. But we're back to football now that spring ball started. Let's get right into the Michigan Mailbag, starting with the leaders and best, starting with James Crudup at James Crudup 6. How dare you not come to the conclusion that our freshmen should have stood in the tunnel while their seniors made out with the court? It's still so hilarious. It's funny because I read that on Thursday and I forgot about it. Even when I copied it over, I didn't read it. Oh man, you're gonna make this show have like a 50% approval rating because RCMB is gonna get a hold of your comment. They're just gonna, you gotta see this on YouTube, guys. Anyway, he continues. Do you think that Sharon Moore's smash identity will still be present in Chip Lindsey's offense, or do you think we'll see a different offensive identity? Chip Lindsey, who we talked to yesterday. See, I wouldn't have been able to answer that like very securely. Like I would have said, probably it's going to be more, the smash is going to continue. We'll see what that looks like. But then you had Chip Lindsey say yesterday, like, hey, I watched Sharon Moore's offenses and I stole some of his stuff at North Carolina. And like we want to keep some, like a lot of that unbalanced stuff, the heavy sets, all that kind of stuff. By the way, just previewing for you, Jimmy Whitner 1. Zuri looks like she wants to join the show. Let's see if we can get her on here. Come on. Ugh. This is becoming a mailbag thing, having Zuri join the show. We can keep her on the show the whole time. Covers my face, though, so that might have to talk louder, so we'll see how that goes. Josh Barrett Jadicki, how valuable when recruiting high-end players is it to have media people like Rich Eisen in Michigan's corner who will use their platform to get them in front of people that way? Does that staff ever use it as part of the picture? Is it just grouped in with the alumni aspect? I think it's just grouped in with the alumni aspect. But I mean, it's absolutely crucial because everyone probably saw that, right? And to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a chance to be on this, or I'm going to, Tracy Wolfson is in the football. Well, she's more basketball than, because she has NFL football, but she's going to maybe give me a profile or, whoever it might be. I think that definitely helps. Right, certainly. I don't know how valuable. I don't know if you can quantify it, but still. Michael Wolf at MWolf21. Can Penn State use the blueprint of the last 2 national champions and make a run at it? I'm skeptical for reasons that I kind of had the last couple weeks because they actually have a lower retention rate, but they do return, obviously, the running backs and the quarterback. But they lose a lot on defense. I guess that's not too dissimilar for Michigan going from 2022 to 2023, but Michigan going from 2022 to 2023 had the 5th most experienced team going into that year. So I find it hard to believe that the 33rd team is going to get that same thing. And plus they're still coached by James Franklin. I think their schedule's amenable. I mean, they avoid Michigan. So there's that. But I don't know that it's necessarily that they're going to be able to have that. It's just going to be harder, number one. But they certainly have a path, right? They can think Ohio State's on the schedule. I don't know who else. I can't remember. I've looked at their schedule. But Jimmy Whitner at Jimmy Whitner 1. What are your predictions for surprise starters on offense and defense? I don't know that I have any surprises, to be honest. Not like as I sit here and think about it. I don't know that I have anyone surprising on either side. I mean, we know kind of like defensively, we pretty much have a pretty good idea. Offensively, maybe there's a chance to break in. I'll say this, maybe like a transfer that comes in the spring at a skill position. will start. Someone that's not on the team now. But I think defensively, you're going to get everybody that you think. Sorry, smelling the microphone. If you just listen, you miss out on this puppy that requires all the attention and looks sad while doing it. She's putting her head up, wanting more attention, and also because I bite her. But she doesn't want me biting her. So she's going to get up on the desk. I'm going to have to move the keyboard so she doesn't stop the show like she did last time. Continuing from Jimmy Whitner, who do you think will be our punter? Someone on the roster or a portal edition? For now, I'll go Hudson Hollenbeck. Would have been interesting if that Duke punter ended up coming. I don't know if he ended up transferring somewhere else. But I was at Cigars with Ward and in Florida, and this guy sitting across from us, he's like, "Hey, you guys need a punter, don't you?" Like, just kind of unabated. We're like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, my son's in the transfer portal. He's the punter for Duke." And it was like, oh, he recognized Ward from the television. So it was just kind of funny. Number 3, can you remove one team and add one team to this year's schedule? If I could, who would it be? I would remove Nebraska, just because I feel like I want to go to Oklahoma. I don't like Nebraska doesn't do anything for me anymore. And Matt Rule is just being kind of annoying. If I could add a team, I'm not going to make it easier for Michigan at all. So I would probably, who would I want to see Michigan play? I'd probably add something like at Ole Miss so that we could go to Ole Miss, even though that wouldn't make my life any easier having to fly to Oxford. I would rather see like an SEC team like Georgia. Oh man, that would be cool. Georgia at the Big House. Yeah, I'd take something like that. Let's do that. I'd add Georgia at the Big House. Would that help Michigan? Absolutely not. Would I love to see it? Yes, I would. All right. KRT at FarmerK84. How much Bryce Underwood will see in the spring game? Or will we see? How much Bryce Underwood will we see in the spring game? Anyone else you think will shine in the spring game? It's hard to really tell, man. I mean, Peyton O'Leary showed out 2 years ago. He had a couple big catches last year. Ben Hall showed out. I think it's probably going to be a couple people that show out that you're like, I didn't really expect that, and I don't know what to do with it either. So I wouldn't be surprised if I think we'll see a fair amount of Bryce Underwood, like a quarter of the game, honestly. And he needs that, right? And then as far as who will show out, I think you'll see like a series or two for Justice Haynes, and I think he'll look really good. I think some receiver is going to be like, whoa, maybe like Andrew Marsh, I think would be a pretty good, or maybe Jamar Browder. Wouldn't be surprised there. And he says, anyone else you think will shine in the spring game? I think that's just what I answered. I'm getting confused because I have this dog on me that's confusing me here. Spencer Whitmore finishing us out. Feel like people are sleeping on our tight ends room. Big loss with Loveland, but like what we've got with Klein and Hansen. I mean, I just want to see more pass catching production, especially from Klein, who it felt like the balls were thrown his way that Loveland would have caught that looked completely uncatchable for him. But yeah, I mean, it's still a very solid room. I just think it will look more like the Eubanks McCune type room more than the Jake Butt or Colston Loveland leading the charge type of room. So that's that. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got plenty more coming up. I can't do this, Uri. All right, we're just going to have to do it the old manual. We've got plenty more coming up here in just a moment. But before we do, the Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked On College basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart from top-seeded stars to the unexpected upsets. These guys showcased the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut Team of the Week is the Florida Gators. The Gators, led by Walter Clayton, 17 points a game, just dominated the SEC tournament, winning each game by at least 9 points. Not only did Florida grab the 4th 1 seed, but they're the nation's most efficient offense. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what the Florida Gators have done here. Kudos to my uncle. Big Gators fan. It's clear that our Team of the Week is out there ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment, but before we do, life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. Lots of great things like a peace of mind, affordable coverage. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got plenty more. Let's jump ahead. Not really ahead, but jump over to our Victor's Valiant. All right, we got to try to get this computer thing working here. I can't see anything because I've got a dog in my lap. It's a lot of fun. All right, well, this is really working out, and now I have nothing. the gambit that we play. I opened the wrong thing. You're just gonna have to excuse me, y'all. I just opened my a different program I didn't need to. It's gonna block my screen. We're just having a great time. Let's start with Jim at the North. What is Juan Castillo's background? Has he built good O-lines elsewhere? Yes, he was a long time NFL offensive coordinator. He's been with the Philadelphia Eagles back in their big run back in the day. He was with the Baltimore Ravens. Actually had crossover with Wink Martindale over there. I mean, he's really overseen some really impressive. Okay. We're now getting to some of those computer issues that we talked about, and I just can't seem to overcome them at this point. Yes, I don't want to use this. He had a lot of he's been mostly at the NFL, and he's definitely been with a lot of really high end teams that have had really good run games at the NFL. So. What is the future of the NCAA? Honestly, with all the stuff that they make about Michigan, the ignorance of tampering, like with Worthy and the lawsuits, they seem to not have much of a future. I would agree. I think that they're eventually going to get taken over by like a Big Ten SEC coalition, right? Like the alliance, but like teams that actually matter, I think. All right, let's see if I can actually. There we go. Now I got my screen back that I need. So yeah, I think that eventually they're going to be rendered obsolete. Last one from Jim. Do most Michigan players get their degrees? I do believe so, but I mean, obviously if you leave after 3 years, depending on if you're ahead of schedule, you might have to come back, but I do believe that's the case because that's part of what Michigan tries to do, right? That's where kind of APR figures in and having a high APR rate. The Rican Raider, Hamstand 87. We talk so much about Bryce taking over as a freshman. Can we see a freshman wide receiver or tight end jump in right away? Well, freshman tight end, there's one. It's Eli Owens. That's it. So freshman wide receiver has got much more. I think Eli Owens will play, but he's more of a fullback. If Andrew Olesh had not flipped to Penn State, yeah, that would have been a possibility. But I think you're more likely, obviously, to see Andrew Marsh, maybe Jamar Browder, or Jacob Washington. Those are the three. Jacob Washington is going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball because he's not an early. I don't think he's an early enrollee. But I'm going off of what we were able to see in the bowl prep, but not everyone was necessarily there. So because some of them I know he had an all-star game, but I don't think he was an early enrollee. All right, continuing on. I'm not the one at William Cawthorne 9 with 3 questions, or at least 3 tweets with questions. Would you leave us to cover the Lions? Absolutely not. Nope. Michigan's where I want to be. The only thing that would maybe entice me is a national something. Because I love covering Michigan, but there's a part of me that's starting to kind of, loves to just cover the whole sport. What do you think of Mays as Dusty Mays' coaching style? I don't really have a great opinion on that, to be honest. I mean, he's done an amazing job as far as coaching the team. I'm not really someone who can analyze basketball coaches' coaching style, to be honest. So I'm not going to pretend there. When should we start to put more pressure on the coaches as I'm assuming football, to develop the players? I know they've taken 2 stars and made them draft picks, but why do we have to rely so heavily on the portal? If they've made the roster, shouldn't they be ready to contribute? I mean, Michigan's developing pretty much better than anybody. at this point, right? Like you look at Ohio State, look at all the 5 stars at Ohio State. I know they just won the national championship, but like Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, like they don't necessarily get as much out of their 5 stars as Michigan gets out of their 3 stars a lot of the time. So you look at Michigan the last several years, just they've led the draft essentially between them and Georgia, and Michigan's mostly putting like 3-star guys. Like every team's going to have players that just aren't there, and Michigan's not a heavily portal dependent team either. They just aren't. Now you can sit there and talk about like the quarterback situation. I think Michigan was a little too much thinking that they were getting JJ McCarthy back, and then they didn't recruit a quarterback for 2 years. Really, I mean, yeah, you can count. You can say that Alex Orji and Jaden Denegal were in that, but at the same time, they didn't really get a bona fide quarterback after JJ McCarthy until Bryce Underwood. Well, until Jaden Davis. So I don't think that's really on Michigan. I think Michigan's done a very good job. They're not as portal dependent as other teams, and they lose players to the portal too. So they've got to replace guys, right? Not every player. There we go. Not every player that's lost to the portal is lost just because they didn't feel like they were going to play at Michigan. Some guys, like you look at DJ Waller, he was going to start for Michigan last year. So, all right, Jacob Chavaria. Oops, skipping ahead. Perry Mitchell 08. Can you just speak on how once great and respectful rivalries are being ruined by the vitriol and hatred of tribalism? It just seems like the mutual respect has been lost despite many of the players having offers from both schools. Is it just Michigan's recent success? No, you hit the nail on the head. I said this in the earlier episode today, is be above your idolatrous sports rivalry. Like I recall, like when I first went to Michigan in 1999, I had friends over at MSU, and I remember after Michigan lost to MSU in my freshman year, I called my buddy Jason and was like, hey man, congrats, we'll get you next year. Like that's kind of how it used to be. Like you'd hate them, but not really. And I think about when I moved to Los Angeles. I'd go watch, college football Saturdays for my first year in 2008 were spent with my buddy Brian, who's a massive Ohio State fan. Now he lives in Dublin. He's right outside of Columbus. And like, he's still my brother, man. Like, and we might jab each other. He might send me something like jabbing me about whatever. And I don't really do that back too much because I've never been much of a trash talker. But it's gotten to this vitriolic point that is just absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And people have lost a sense of humanity, and I think that's been proliferated a lot by the internet. And just people forget there's a human on the other side of that has real emotions, real feelings. And the players actually, for the most part, have a lot more respect for each other. I don't know about Michigan State, but Michigan, Ohio State, certainly, despite the fight that happened at the end of the game. I don't know. I just think that everyone needs to be a little bit more human and have more sportsmanship than they do. And that most of that's fans. Jacob Chavaria, what in the world happened? The Bleacher Report app is borderline unusable after the recent update. I have no idea. Where should I be before the spring game to watch the players enter off the buses? Will you be on the sidelines for it? I'll be on the sidelines for the game. I don't know I think they handle things differently. I don't know. I've never watched the team arrive for the spring game, so I couldn't tell you. I would assume, what is that? East side of the stadium at the tunnel? That would be it, I guess. If that would be what I assume. Lonnie Dub at Lonnie Dub. If you could pick one current player on the football roster to co-star alongside you in the next zombie movie, who would you want by your side? Who would I want by my side? Jay-Sean Barham. Yeah. Quiet, doesn't say anything. You get the peace and quiet, but he's an attack dog. He's a killer. I love me some Jay-Sean Barham. I'm going with Jay-Sean Barham. I got to get out of this. We're getting behind here. Adam, Zuri's still here. She's just underneath the desk now. Adam Kasel, at Adam_Kasel. At the beginning of the football season, last football season, it seemed like the fundamentals weren't where they were under Harbaugh, missed tackles and penalties, but seemed to get better as the season progressed. Was this overlooked last season? But because of new players, will it be a point of emphasis this year? Yeah, I had kind of heard some things about practice was maybe a little bit, they didn't necessarily run through things quite as many times. That rumor at this point, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't even think I heard that from someone directly. And then it just seemed like by the end of the year, they were kind of went back to the Harbaugh way. So I think before they were kind of more so just trying to install a lot and not necessarily honing things. And I think they got back into honing things later in the year. Edwin Simmons at Simmons_Edwin. Happy, we're going to say Tuesday. My brother in Christ, I pray all is well. It is. Thank you very much. Who do you believe will have an impressive pro day? Do we have any wide receivers for pro day? No, I don't think any wide receivers left. Did they? Who will have an impressive pro day? I think Donovan Edwards will have a really impressive pro day. I mean, Mason, Kenneth. I mean, there's going to be, lots of guys. Will's not doing pro day. I have a hard time to really say, but I think Donovan's still my pick. I think he's going to have a really good pro day. Clark at Blue for Life 8, do you think Michigan keeps looking in the portal for any centers, or do you think that they're content with what they have? I think they'll keep their eyes open, but I think they're content with what they have with Greg Crippen. I mean, again, if someone otherworldly comes in, they'll probably go for it. Finishing us out in segment 2, Wolverine Libertatis at Wolf_Libertatis. Sorry, sniffing my hand underneath the desk. What to keep an eye on between now and the spring game, and what to watch during the spring game? I mean, the what to watch before is like what names pop up. Like the consistent names. Last year was Etta. The year before it was Amarian Walker. So with that in mind, understand whatever you hear doesn't necessarily mean diddly for the actual season. But to hear a new name pop up consistently, and as far as what to watch during, there's really not anything. Just watch it and enjoy it. Watch Bryce Underwood and the way he throws the ball. Mikey Keene and the way he throws the ball. Really, there's nothing else. There's nothing terribly important about the spring game in terms of, if it was 1 versus 2s, it'd be a different scenario, but they draft teams. So it's not like whole units. Otherwise, I'd be like, I want to see how the whole defensive line is able to handle the O-line or vice versa. And you're not getting that this time, right? All right, we're going to continue on. We've got plenty more in the Blue Crew coming up here in just a moment. But before we do, scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Our experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent, if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, we are let's see, do we have a ton here? Not a ton. We'll get to 30-ish. Here with the Blue Crew, Brennan Probasco at Probasco Brennan. Give us a way too early floor and ceiling for the team. You're not going to like the floor. It's 8-4. I have a hard time. I have a hard time seeing Michigan. Number one, I think they're too talented to lose 5 games again in the regular season. But Oklahoma, Nebraska, I think, they could lose to Washington and USC. I'm going to say USC is probably harder because it's on the road in Ohio State. Otherwise, it just feels like Michigan should win a lot of them. I'm going to say their ceiling is 12-0. They absolutely could, but with the schedule that is, they absolutely could run the table. Do I think they will? No, I think they'll slip up 1 or 2 places, but they absolutely could run the table. But I would predict 10-2, somewhere in between there. Andy Cap at Andy Cap 1846. Did Michigan do enough at wide receiver this offseason? No, I don't think so. Quarterback play was horrendous, but so was the wide receiver room. Here's the good thing. You got the 3 incoming freshmen. You don't like to rely on freshman receivers, but you got some good freshmen. They did get 2 in the portal. I still think they need to get 1 or 2 more in the portal. I think that it still needs to be bolstered. Klob711 at Klob711. Would be awesome to see Sharon hire Connor Stallions in some sort of analyst role. Connor would love that. Sort of like Juan Castillo, Connor has a brilliant mind. It would be awesome to see him at Michigan again. Do you foresee that could happen in the next 1 or 2 years? God bless. I think it'd be more like 4 or 5 years. Trust me, that's the dream for Connor, to be back at Michigan. But I think that it's going to have to, because it's not just Sharon. I think if it was just Sharon, he'd be like, yeah, I'd love to bring him back. But I think there's going to be a lot of politics given the pallor cast over Michigan with NCAA stuff. Makes it a little bit more difficult. I wouldn't even be surprised if the athletic department was fine with it, but the regents and the Ono and all of that. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think there needs to be some time passed before that can happen. 1 to 2 years, if he doesn't feel like enough time passed, I think he needs to go pay his dues elsewhere for a little while, and then he can come back at some point. MBT at Maize and Blue, true. God bless you, Isaiah. Thank you. God bless you as well. Are we nervous at all about the O-line, especially with minimal transfer portal moves towards the O-line? Yeah, we're nervous, but the Juan Castillo of it all, I think, helps. And I mean, they've got some high-end. Here's the good news: they've got high-end recruits. They just haven't really come forth. That's where I want to see, like, Nathan Afobe. I'd love to see Afobe, Link, Crippen, Alhadi, Sprague. I think that would make me feel really good if it ends up being that. But yeah, I'm a little nervous until we see it get better. But I was nervous going to 2021. Look how that worked out. Todd at Toddy Brown Jr. has heard Bryce is up to 228 pounds. Any truth to that? Well, it's out of his mouth. He said it on Rich Eisen, so it has to be true. When would anyone ever lie on television? Doesn't happen that way. Blue Burner at Easkit. Okay, Easkit. Skyditis? I don't know. I don't want to say that the other way. What will the safety rotation look like with Hillman breaking out last year and Rod Moore returning? Assuming Rod Moore is fully healthy, I mean, I think they'd be the starters, and then you're going to see a rotation of TJ Metcalf, Jaden Mangum, Mason Curtis, and possibly a freshman or two. I think it's I mean, that's the deepest room, I think, on the roster is safety. I think it just looks really good to me right now. John Truden at John Truden. Can we get an update on Stallions? When can we expect to see him back in the Maize and Blue? I know we just kind of had that. I'll let him eventually make that update. He's kept on pushing back when he's going to come on the show. The plan initially was for him to come on the day that Sign Stealer was dropped, and then he was urged by outside sources to hold off on it, and then he was going to do Bustin' with the Boys and then come on this, and I'd rather he update. I mean, he's doing good, right? He's doing well. He just was down at the NCAA tournament, the Big Ten tournament, and still he's making moves. I'll say that much. He's making some moves. We'll see where he ends up eventually here. Finishing us out, it's again a similar question. JD Heb at JD Heb 1. Do you think the O-line will be a strength or a weakness this year? I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be a strength. I think they're going to surprise us. I think adding Juan Castillo will play a big difference, because I think that, I'm not saying Grant Newsome was in over his head. I just think that that's a hard place to coach with so many new faces. And I just think it's going to help out a lot to have Juan, even though I think that they said Juan's going to be more helping out with the younger players rather than the older players. I mean, I just think that it's going to really bode well for Michigan to have him there regardless. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We did two for Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you again on Wednesday. Peace.